if you keep the attitude of continually blaming other people for your failures, for your inadequacies, for your inabilities and all that, you will never succeed in life. You will place an embargo on your ability to succeed because you're putting the responsibility of your success on another person when you always blame other people for your failures. And this is something you watch social media, you watch the news, and you see things that are happening in the West, especially, for instance, in America and the UK, some black people asking for repatriation or asking for compensation for slavery. It's mind-boggling that black people in the 21st century will be asking for compensation for slavery. Come on, it's madness. And you see, this issue of racism, there's always racism here. This person is racist. You talk about a black person or someone in a way, and then they say you're racist. You say something, they say you're racist, and then they say, oh, racism has to be blamed, or racism is to blame for where black people are. Come on, it's mind-boggling. It's confusing. See, my take on this issue when it comes to the repatriation and compensation that some black people are asking for is this. I think it is blatant stupidity for you in the 21st century to be asking for compensation for slavery that occurred or that happened to your great-great-grandfathers. You're asking for compensation. On what grounds? On what basis? The people who put your great-great-grandfathers into slavery are no longer in existence. They're dead and gone. You want their kids to pay for it? Wow. I think, first of all, you should be grateful to your great-great-grandfathers who went into slavery because they made you escape the madness that's in Africa. That's the truth. In most parts of Africa, it's madness. The leaders are mad. The people are mad. In fact, you cannot have, for instance, in Nigeria, you have all the oil in the world, yet your leaders cannot just put the resources to the benefit of the people. You should be grateful to your great-great-grandfathers for enduring slavery and then making you in this generation escape this madness. You should be grateful for that. And then you should also be grateful to the white slave owners because they delivered your great-great-grandparents from madness. Because if they had not taken them into slavery in the West, in America, they would also still be under slavery in Africa. Who sold them to the whites? It was black people. Their fellow brothers and sisters, black brothers and sisters, sold them off into slavery. And it turns out their generations that came after them are better than the generations that are still here. Doesn't it look like that? You live in a society where you have all the privileges, and then you're still asking for repatriation or compensation, and then you have the effrontery to even blame the other people for your inabilities and incapacities. You're sick. You're stupid. So that said, never put the blame for your failure on another person, especially when you had the opportunity, when you had the ability, when you had the capacity to make good of your life. Never put the blame of your failure on another person. And that's what most people are doing. You cannot succeed. You'll never succeed because you're placing an embargo on yourself. You're giving power to someone else to determine how your future goes. It's a poor attitude. It's a poor attitude, a bad attitude. You always putting the blame for your failures. When systems don't work, you blame it on someone else. Listen, every nation gets the leaders that it deserves. Africa, Nigeria, for instance, is suffering from poor leadership because the people have poor attitude. And when people have poor attitude, they give birth to poor leaders and leaders with poor attitude. So when the system doesn't work, it's people who make the system work or not to work. So why blame another person? Take responsibility. Take responsibility. Regardless of how bad you might think your system is, there are people who are still succeeding in those systems. There are people who are still succeeding in those systems, and they are succeeding legally, clean, doing a great job with their success. And yet you sit there every time you want to blame somebody else for the failures that you're experiencing in life. You need to wake up. It's a poor attitude. It will keep you down forever. It will keep you under oppression. It will keep you depressed. It will keep you oppressed. Never blame your failures and inabilities or incapacities on another person, especially when you had the opportunity, you had the ability, you had the responsibility to do something about your challenge and you did nothing. And then you want to say, oh, it's because my dad is black. It's because I am black. It's the color of my skin. Oh, it's because my father didn't send me to school. It's because, oh, my mom didn't give me good training. At the point you got to the acknowledgement that you needed good training, what did you do about it? At the point you got to the acknowledgement that indeed I have a character flaw and it came from bad parenthood, what did you do about it? It's when you get into terrible situations. It's crazy when people get into crimes, criminal elements, they begin to blame their parents and blame others, blame everybody. You know the difference between good and bad, and you chose to do evil. You cannot blame it. You cannot blame it on another person. It's never an excuse. It's never an excuse that someone else had the power to deprive you of the ability to make good choices. Don't blame your failures on another person, especially when you had the opportunity, you had the ability, you had the capacity. It was your responsibility to make a good choice. It's a poor attitude. It needs to change. Absolutely needs to change.